Rev up your engines! Alright, here we have a relatively rare car, a convertible Volvo. It's got their venerable 5-cylinder engine, purchased used with only 61,000 miles. Let's check it out. Now, it might look like a hardtop, but it's a convertible. The Europeans are pretty good at making these hardtop convertibles. We'll get to that later. It's in excellent shape. They really did good finish on these. It's a C70 and it's a Turbo 5. Now, they bought this car for $13,600, and with 61,000 miles, it's a pretty good deal. Let's take a look under the hood. Now, these 5-cylinder engines can basically last forever, and the owner's smart. Since it's a 10-year-old car, first thing he did was put a new timing belt. That's a smart move. They're interference engines. You don't want to ruin an engine for one of a stupid little rubber timing belt. And you can see all the aluminum parts are corroded. Hey, that's what happens. Cars in Massachusetts, East Coast, that itself doesn't mean anything. Now, this particular one was assembled by Pininfarina, Sweden. Now, if you know the history of Volvos, it's been going on for a while. The old P1800s were the same thing. They had some English design, as this did, but Pininfarina were the people that put it together. You got the English and the Italians and the Swedes all getting together. Now, this particular one, strangely enough, he got it from somebody in Ohio. This baby's been in winter weather, so let's check the undercarriage. Solid as a rock after all our Swedish cars. What do you think it does in Sweden? It snows a lot, right? They've been building solid cars for a long time. Do you see a lot of Volvos with rusted pieces falling off of them? You don't, because they know how to keep them from corroding from the salt on the road. If this had been Chrysler, it'd probably be in pieces all over the place by now. The fenders would be falling off, everything would be rotting underneath. But the Swedes know what they're doing when it comes to that. They don't have a problem with the corrosion like other people do. So you can get an old one that's still really solid and isn't falling apart. Plus, these things have really interesting designs. Being a modern enough car, 2011, got a lot of aluminum parts on it. Suspension parts, guess what? Aluminum doesn't rust. Okay, it corrodes, yeah, but it's superficial corrosion. It does not affect the structure. Steel, when it corrodes, believe me, it affects the structure of the vehicle. But aluminum, no, it doesn't have that problem. So it's not like you could buy an American car that, okay, maybe the frame was still good because you rinsed it off, but all the suspension parts, they all start rusting, corroding, falling off. That's not the case of these things. And as I said, it's a 5-cylinder turbo, so it's got a turbocharger with an intercooler on it. Volvo's been making turbo cars for quite some time. They're not new to the game. These 5-cylinder engines are killer engines for lifespan, but they had one big problem. Without a turbo, they were just too slow for the American market. They weren't all that slow if you had a standard transmission, but 95% of Americans drive automatic, so that kind of throws that out the window. My aunt's old P1800, yeah, it was a standard, and she had 350,000 miles on it, and that was a Pininfarina job too. They know how to make solid cars. So let's take a listen to it. Definitely a solid door, I'll say that. And guess what? It sounds exactly like a 5-cylinder Volvo engine. They have a unique sound. They're relatively smooth. They get a little rolling idle sometimes. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. A smooth accelerating engine with a turbo, they actually have some decent acceleration. And with only 64,000 miles, I would expect this one to be in excellent shape. So let's get out the scan tool. So plug it in, turn it on. Intelligent diagnosis. Round and around and around it goes. Here we go. C70. You can see there's a lot of computer controls on this thing. Well, it's going to do them all, so we'll do a smart scan. Got a few reds, and these are body systems. That's probably BS, so we'll talk about them later. The only thing that might mean anything is the electronic control module. It says that the rear knock sensor signal is too high. The signal's too high, but it has not yet tripped a freeze frame. Since it hasn't tripped a freeze frame, that means it's a real minor thing that happened once, didn't repeat itself. Now, he never had the check engine light come on. So when I'm done here, I'm going to reset all the codes, because I've actually seen this happen before. I've seen it where somebody did have a problem with the knock sensor. They had it replaced, but they didn't reset the code. I get more of these clowns that work on the cars. They got a good enough machine to see the code, but they don't have one that'll reset it right, so the code stays in memory. And since it doesn't have a freeze frame, it's not that strong of a coat. If it's a real coat, it's going to have a freeze frame. It's going to show you exactly when the coat occurred, what all the data was, and this doesn't have it. So we'll erase it when we're all done, but let's look at the other one. Body system. So we'll check the PDM. Communication with control module, no communication. You see that all the time when it's just a minor electrical flaw. And DDM, DD11, communication with switch pack internal fault. And communication with CRM module signal missing. Steering column lock module faulty signal. You get high-tech cars like this, you're often, as they're 10 years old, you're going to get these kind of ghost codes. You never had a problem with it starting. Any little glitch, these computers can see them. And as I said, somebody may, at some point in time, have worked on the system, he's the third owner, and just never reset them. So we're going to reset them all. So here we go. We'll just clear them. And now you can see everything's green. We've cleared them all. Just to see what kind of shape this thing is in, let's go back to the main control module. And we'll look at the live data. We'll select them all. All right, we want to see everything in blue. Let's start going through them. As you can see, the air mass correction factor, 1.09. 1.00 is perfect. Car that's 10 years old, that's totally normal. Fuel pressure is normal. These are so high-tech, they even know the fuel temperature. Timing's fine. They did a good job on the timing belt. The timing's correct. Say, this car's 10 years old. The long-term fuel trim at idle, it's only minus 0.23. That's almost perfect. Rarely you're going to see a car this old, it's going to be that close. And check it out. The outlet valves is 26.50. The target is 26.50. So the valves and the cams are still in absolute perfect shape. They're not even off maybe 1/1000. It's exactly the same. They know how to build these engines. These are no slouch engines. And as we look at the short-term fuel trim, it's only 1, now it's 0.97, 1.02. It's adding just a tiny amount of fuel. That too is almost perfect. But just realize, they don't drive this thing much. It's amazing it's that low. Because when it sits up, this thing needs an Italian tune-up. Hey, Pininfarina built it, right? So it needs an Italian tune-up. They need to drive it a little bit faster, a little bit longer. Now, they're nicely appointed, because they are a rather luxurious car, a lot of leather. And here comes our big hump here. And for the big hump, it's pretty smooth. Smooth riding car too, the suspension's well made, a well-designed car. But of course, icing on a cake is the convertible top. And yes, it is a convertible, even though it looks like a hard top. It's almost like a fancy garbage truck getting ready to squash the garbage. Look at this thing, it's like a beetle. It's one of those beetles taking a shell out, putting its wings. It looks like it's ready to fly. Now you got a beautiful convertible. So basically, for the money they paid, they got themselves a luxury convertible that rides like a dream, and of course with that hard shell. The biggest disadvantage of all convertibles. Ragtop convertibles are loud. They leak. Take a drive in one when an 18-wheeler's behind you. It sounds like they're in your back pocket and they're gonna crush you. These, they're sound deadening. They're perfectly designed. And of course in the winter, in Sweden, you don't want the snow collapsing your roof, so it makes a lot more sense having a metal fiberglass one than having a piece of canvas that will collapse and leak. And guess what? You don't have to replace the stupid things all the time like a convertible top. It's a rag top that wears out and then the glass or the plastic cracks. No, these are well designed. And they're made by Swedes, so they actually last. Unlike, let's say, the Porsches, which break all the time and cost a fortune, these are pretty dependable. So if you're looking for a beautiful rag top that doesn't have a rag, and you want to spend a little bit of money like they did and find a car like this with 60,000 miles on it during this pandemic where prices are high, my advice is jump on the thing if it's in good shape as this is. You can see with my little scan tool, it doesn't take a good mechanic more than half an hour to figure out whether the car's good or not. And this one is in excellent shape. Built by Italians, designed by English and Swedes. You got a European consortium that actually did something right this time. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Kim Christian, 1966, says, I got an 07 Volkswagen Jetta. I can't get the last strip lug nut off of the tire. Been trying for 5 months, tried everything. People tried drilling it out. They couldn't get it out. Help. Here's what I do, and it always works. Old welder showed me the trick ages ago. You got those crazy Volkswagens, one where the whole bolt assembly goes in, and your head's stripped now, it won't come out. Volkswagen's crazy design. And you get the wheels on, it's a pain in the butt getting them on because you don't have the lugs sticking out where you can get them on and put the nuts, the whole thing fits in. It's just a stupid German design, but hey, they stick by it. Get a good welder. He welds a new nut on the end of it, the whole way around. then it's solid. Weld material is stronger than the material it's welding if done right. It just has an air impact and it'll come right up because that's welded on, and that's a brand new nut and it's not stripped, and you can get it off. That's how you do it. You weld a nut on the end of the bolt. Then when you got an air impact or whatever, it will come out. Now, let's say you don't have an air impact. Well, then get a giant long extension bar and a piece of pipe to make it longer, and then it will come off. You'll be able to get it off. The problem is the heads strip, and then they're a pain in the butt. But when you weld a new nut on, it's a brand new nut, and it's not stripped, and it will come off. Believe me, I've done that many times, and it always works as long as you weld it on nice and tight. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.